The NBA All-Star starters have been revealed, and you all want to know who isn't starting. Listen, some people don't belong in certain conversations. The front court players, Boston's Niecy Collier, Narcissa Sabali, Anna Stewart, and Asia Wilson are all right. And down here, Boston, Jonquel Jones, Alyssa Thomas. And no, Angel Reese didn't just miss the All-Star starting lineup. She didn't even manage to make the list of reserves, even though she was one of the player Forbes attempted to appoint as the co-face of the WNBA, placing her next to Caitlin Clark, acting as though Reese was already a member of the league's royalty. However, the scoreboard doesn't lie, and Angel Reese is the face of the WNBA. The most hyped names in the entire NBA, and after practically begging fans to stuff the ballot boxes for her, the hard truth is impossible to ignore. She received just over 500,000 votes, which seems fine until you realize that's a tiny blip compared to the expectations surrounding her. You would think that Angel Reese would be leading the league in votes, but not only is the self-proclaimed Barbie not in the lead, but Angel Reese isn't even close to making the top 10. So what went wrong if you back Caitlin in the WNBA All-Star game? Let's be honest, did you guys think that Angel Reese would be the star? Wait, don't get upset about why you're bringing it up, and don't tell me anything, because I'm going to tell you should pay attention to your Instagram followers and all of that, but it doesn't translate to the court. It's as easy as that. These are the starters, and you have fan votes at play here, and you weren't voting for her. Stop it, stop it, stop. How can a player who receives constant media attention, viral trends, and an endless stream of highlight packages and tweets end up nowhere near the top of the voting where it matters? Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark, who's had a good deal of controversy, and the fan vote was nearly ruined by the detractors. 3 million votes, almost tripled Angel Reese's total. This isn't just a disappointing outcome for Reese, it's a sobering reminder of reality. The more you examine how fans, the media, and even other NBA players voted, the more you realize that hype and genuine respect are two different things. As we saw from the popularity voting, it wasn't just Caitlin Clark who received votes, it was me as well. Angel Reese was everywhere last year, propped up as the next big thing who would redefine what women's basketball could look like. You couldn't scroll social media without seeing her face, and the league definitely leaned all the way into that story. However, when it came time for fans to actually show up and support her, she should have been at least second. Well, according to everything I've been told, Angel was 13th in the All-Star voting. Voting her into the All-Star game, Reese ended up in 13th position. This was not only disheartening, but also almost humiliating for someone who has been referred to be the sport's future. Where did all that momentum go? 11, 3 points and 11. Let's examine the figures that reveal the true story. 9 boards and a 6'3" shooter who is 38-12%. Angels average about 11. 3 points and 11. At first sight, the boards appear respectable with 9 rebounds, but her shooting percentage is a dismal 38. Her rebounding has also decreased by more than a full board per game for someone who is 6'3" and was expected to be an unstoppable interior presence. The inconsistency is obvious. Those stats hardly scream generational. They hardly whisper average starter. And the drop is particularly noticeable when stacked against the giant expectations with her name on them. So it's been really up and down for her. Last year, she was more than 2 points behind a game and about a rebound behind a game, which should be her strong suit. Meanwhile, if you look across the league, you can see who's controlling the conversation and the scoreboard. And Caitlin Clark not only won the fan vote, she dominated it with roughly 1. In addition to filling out the stat sheet, 3 million tallies have left Angel's figures in the dust. The fact that Angel Reese's stat line isn't keeping up with the noise while she is leading her squad, hitting highlight plays that swing games and packing arenas from coast to coast, makes it painfully clear why fans and analysts are beginning to question where she really belongs in the league hierarchy. Not only was she not second, but she was essentially 3 times as many votes behind Caitlin Clark, and this is where in contrast, Caitlin Clark was not just chosen, she was the unanimous media choice across all 3 official ballots. This is what true respect earned by encore brilliance looks like. The all-star voting process completely destroys the illusions. Fans receive half of the vote, but the other 50% comes from people who watch movies for a living, the media, and other players. These people know exactly what an all-star should look like. Angel Reese, who has been pleading with people on social media to vote for her, Angel Reese, number 13 on the list, has a huge online following, and the media machine jumped at the chance to market her as the next face of women's basketball. However, you can't just be internet famous in the WNBA. You have to show up night after night and dominate. Angel's numbers, especially with all the expectations tied to her brand, simply didn't break through. Every clanked shot and quiet one-digit scoring night stands out even more under the spotlight of someone who is positioned as the next superstar and a potential reserve. Who would it be? Gabby Williams and Brittany Sykes. So Angel Reese couldn't even fit into a reserve spot. Now, Megan Hall of America left Angel Reese off her all-star ballot today, which fans and players noticed. Her low shooting and declining rebounding on the hardwood proves she's not imposing her will like people thought she would. The basketball community is telling Angel Reese that hype alone isn't enough anymore. The press helped make her the next big story, but the gameplay hasn't lived up to the hype. This gap is now being revealed everywhere, from official voting charts to Twitter memes. So seeing her ranked 13th in the All-Star rankings isn't just the result of a few bad nights. It's the result of her failing to live up to the standards set by her fans and many writers. Just because your favorite player didn't make the cut doesn't mean that it's rigged. The All-Star flameout sends a bigger message to today's WNBA fans. The insiders in the entire community want more than flashy interviews and sassy social clips. And a lot of people are going to be upset. I saw you on Twitter crashing out, talking about the fan voting is rigged and all of this stuff. Man, come on, man. You have to stop the nonsense. When you're below 40% and can't even sniff the top 10 after rallying your base, it's a pretty loud reality check that clout doesn't equal all-star credibility. Reese didn't just hope fans would vote, she literally campaigned for it online, at times almost pleading for them to do so. This made the blowout even more brutal. Sports journalists who once wrote laudatory columns about Angel Reese's cultural impact had no choice but to discreetly leave her off their ballots when they released their all-star ballots. Megan Hall from the United States spent months promoting Reese as a league game changer, but she left Angel Reese entirely off her list, which likely means she won't be a starter in the All-Star. The bottom line is that you can amass a massive fan base, garner media attention, and be referred to as the sport's face all day long, but when it comes time for the fans, players, and media to choose who truly deserves to be an All-Star, it all comes down to production, leadership, and winning impact. Caitlin Clark brought all of that along with almost won a league with 3 million votes and skyrocketing TV ratings and merchandise sales. The mainstream media has been trying to convince us that Angel Reese is a huge star, with some even conducting investigative journalism and claiming that she is. Meanwhile, Angel Reese got the spotlight handed to her on a silver platter and proved that you can't fake it when the ball tips off this all-star result. It's the basketball world's not-so-subtle way of saying, step up your game or your headlines don't mean a thing. The media sold us on the idea that Angel Reese was unstoppable and would change the NBA overnight, but reality hit hard when it came time for real fans, coaches, and other players to cast their votes. Reese's name seemed to be everywhere on Instagram and Twitter. She is the face of the NBA because she leads the league and followers on social media, but she also has missed layups and a complete lack of athleticism. This is really where the whole shiny image of Angel Reese began to completely unravel for months. The hype may have appeared enormous on the surface, but it didn't go deep enough to propel her into the all-star spotlight. She claimed to be fans of Paige, Angel Reese, and every single one of them, instead of watching the player they claim to be fans of, which we know they're not really fans of because nobody watches those players, as evidenced by the ratings numbers they were all watching. She was trending with every soundbite and outfit post, but when it came down to it, the support was simply lacking. Caitlin Clark's performance is nothing more than a hate watch. Everyone would rather watch her and the players they claim to be fans of, but in reality, they're just fans of Kate. They simply despise Caitlin Clark, and as a result, they're fans who view the players she opposes as having some strange rivalry. In the meantime, Caitlin Clark didn't need to launch any frantic social media campaigns to garner votes. Instead, she simply played the kind of thrilling basketball that drew fans in, and the outcome was clear. They gathered in large numbers to support her. Reese's entire approach of directly asking fans for all-star votes only served to highlight how little real pull she had. Rather than gaining traction, it revealed how shallow her fan base was. The discrepancy between the narrative the media had been spreading and what was actually happening on the court became indisputable, and even media outlets that had previously been unable to stop praising Reese began to quietly move their focus to players who were delivering. So now the big question everyone is asking is, how did Angel Reese go from being the media's golden child to being ignored by the very people who once championed her? The answer is fairly straightforward. It's what happens when the narrative starts to fall apart and the votes don't lie. We know that the media, no matter how you put it, tried to support and elevate Angel Reese last year as though she was, of course, tied with Caitlin Clark for Rookie of the Year. But to truly comprehend how Angel Reese's stock fell like a rock, you must consider how the media supported her from the beginning. For months, Forbes declared her to be one of the league's literal faces, as if she had already achieved legend status. Reese didn't exactly back down from that either. For example, when she boldly asserted that I am the reason people watch women's basketball, it was a bold statement that essentially invited scrutiny. She was unable to support it, and I still don't understand how she could be so tall and shoot so poorly from the field. For a while, the hype machine was working nonstop, and Reese was everywhere. Her name trended following every press conference, and she was featured in all the glossy league promos. It seemed like the spotlight was fixed on her permanently, which raised expectations. But then the all-star voting numbers fell like a brick, and all of that suddenly stopped. The positive publicity began to wane, and the same media outlets that had been gushing about her became unusually quiet. This was because the narrative was embarrassed by the numbers, which went beyond simply falling short at a small average of 11. People are catching on, and her fans are no longer able to defend the play, and I suppose media members are too. 3 points a game on less than 40% field goal shooting simply wasn't enough to maintain the superstar title they'd placed on her. Is it a shocking change from the breathless articles earlier in the year that couldn't print her name enough times? What does that tell you then? The glossy media buildup ran headfirst into a cold dose of reality once people actually had to vote. When the big outlets actually had to put their votes on paper, they didn't just hedge, they completely left her off both the Sports Illustrated and the USA Today All-Star ballots. Fancy highlight edits and share as many memes as you like, but if it doesn't translate into big-time performances night after night, the basketball world moves on. Fans, media, and other players looked closely and realized that the narrative didn't match the output. As a result, when Reese finished at 13th, it wasn't just a few bad nights. Rather, it was a complete reassessment of a hype train that had long gone awry. Based on what we understood, she was going to be among the media has been trying to tell us that, players, but now they are finally telling you that. According to 3 media members, 2 from C and 1 from the United States, she is not one of these starters, in their opinion, in the WNBA All-Star Game, and they are not on her ballots. It's not just Reese who received a wake-up call in this case. The entire situation also called into question the media's credibility, as these outlets were either telling us what was actually happening on the court or simply pushing a shiny story they hoped would stick. But the fact that they quickly stopped talking after the voting fiasco says it all. Once it became apparent that the performance didn't fit the profile, they quickly changed course, and now Reese finds herself in a completely different kind of spotlight. The media's silence isn't just awkward, it's a clear warning that if she doesn't start producing like an actual all-star, these same outlets that built her brand can just as easily move on to the next big promise. I mean, they might put Angel Reese on their backs and try to carry her across the finish line, for crying out loud, but my goodness, what a difference in the media from this time last year. Does she fade out remembered more for magazine covers than meaningful moments on the court? Or does she finally step up her game and prove she's more than just headlines and claw her way back into the conversation? The whole Angel Reese story proves that there is a lot of media attention, but no matter how loud it is or how many FM spreads you land, you still need to show up, dominate, and earn respect on the floor. Her exclusion from the All-Star lineup sends a message. Basketball fans, actual basketball fans who know anything about basketball, they've caught on. There's no doubt about it. Do you think Reese will recover stronger, or has the NBA already shifted its focus elsewhere? If you think the balance was spot on and the voters called it right, let us know in the comments below. If you support Caitlin in the WNBA All-Star Game, leave a comment below with baby goat over baby giraffe. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss it. The players, loud and clear fans, and even the same press that once fawned over her all want the same thing: real results, not just catchy quotes and flashy photos. Shall see you in the upcoming